Okay, so in my math lab, this is number 1. We want to describe how the function can be obtained from the basic graph. Okay, so what you notice here is we have a squared, x squared. So you want to associate that with the x squared graph. Now this plus 4, I want to go back. You want to compare its position. That plus 4 is in grouping symbols, okay? Is in the grouping symbol. So that is going to associate with the transformation that happens when we're in the grouping symbols. So when I see the plus, that's telling me that it's going to get shifted left that many units, okay? So that's what I want to describe here when I answer this. So we're going to start with the graph, since I see that square, x squared, and we're going to shift left 4 units. So that one says right, up, down, left. So we start with x squared. So you also want to be familiar with those parent functions. You're going to start with x squared. You're going to shift 4 units to the left. All right, then there's a part 2. We're actually going to graph it. So I'm going to click the graph. I'm going to click the parabola. And if you just click anywhere on this graph, okay, you get this pop-up box and it wants you to describe what happened. So all we did was shift left in the horizontal direction. So we're going to go left 4 units. So we're going to go to -4 because that's the overall of what happens. So then you click save, we check, and then we're good to go. All right, number 2, we also want to describe the graph of this function. So we're going to see what's going on here. So immediately I notice the square root of x function. So I guess let me go back and forth. I'm going to use this, the Blackboard one, so I can just have it staying on the graphs, and then I'm going to use the other one. So square root, that's the basic function. When I look at the problem here, I notice there's a -6 out front. So I need to figure out what is that -6 doing. So when I go back to the textbook showing me what's going on, that corresponds to this number being out front. So what we get is that number, A6, the absolute value of that is going to be 6. It is greater than 1. So it's going to stretch our graph vertically. Now, the fact that that number is negative also adds to this. It is going to give us a reflection across the x-axis. So those are the 2 things that are happening. So we look at the value or the size of that number in comparison to 1 to determine the stretch or shrinking, and then we incorporate the sign, and that is going to tell us if it flips across the x or y axis. So you're going to combine both of those things, and we're going to say we're going to start out with this graph. Then we're going to do a vertical stretch. We multiplied each number by 6. Okay, multiply each y coordinate because it's going to stretch it in the y direction. This is y equals the g of x is the same thing as y, so you want to say multiply each y coordinate by 6. By 6. Okay, and then we're going to reflect it across the x-axis. Again, we got that from here. The negative is going to reflect the graph across the y-axis. So notice that y and f of x are the same thing, and when I'm adding that number out, it's multiplying the y value, even though it looks like it's being multiplied times the x. We consider it being multiplied times the x when it's in the grouping symbol with the x. But we'll talk about that when we see it.